They've now said that there were 11 hostages. 2 were killed in their rooms yesterday morning. 9 were killed at the airport tonight. They're all gone.
They're all gone. It's one of those indelible moments where you remember exactly where you were when that happened. And we were talking right before we started the segment, Doug, about Jim McKay, and he, as happens a lot of times, we saw it when John Lennon was killed, and the Monday Night Football crew had to break the news to the world, especially when you didn't have the 24-hour news channels. People have to remember that Jim McKay was the voice to the world, the eyewitness to the history that was unfolding, and he had to pivot from being the voice of the Olympics to basically Walter Cronkite in real time. And you were there shotgun with him.
Walter Cronkite sent him a telegram afterwards saying how proud he was of him.
And he should have been.
I'd love to, if I have a moment, to comment on that, if I
Sure.
may, Richard. I was standing next to the camera he was looking into at that point. And as I mentioned in the break, he had been told by Arthur Godfrey years ago, never to talk, don't think you're talking to millions of people, talk to one person. So he was always talking to his wife, Margaret. But in this instance, he was talking to some other people. And what he did that night, which is just before the clip that you had, the soundbite you put up, he was talking to Lou Ciaffi, who was the Bonn News Bureau chief, and Peter Jennings and Chris Schenkel in a group. And he gets word that what's happened, finally after 16 hours on the air without a break, 1 hour break. And he doesn't, he doesn't turn and say, well, we've heard final word, no. He tried to set the scene and prepare people for what he was about to tell them, because he knew he was about to tell the Berger family in Ohio that their son was dead. And so he interrupted saying, he pulled it out of his past. He said, I'm reminded of something my father told me, that our fondest hopes and our worst fears are seldom realized. But tonight, our worst fears are realized. And then he turned to camera and he said, there are 11 hostages and so forth. And that shows how great he was. He was really, really something. The other thing which you mentioned was, yes, we were the only game in town. Not only were there only 3 networks at that time, but we had, because of the Olympics, Roone Arledge and ABC had booked the satellite. There was only one deal going out of there, one signal, had booked the satellite exclusively for the whole day. And CBS said they all wanted the pictures, and they couldn't get him. We gave it up for 1 hour. I think he gave it up, but he kept it. He knew what he was, And so everybody not only was watching television, and they were only watching ABC. So it was really, and of course it changed Jim's life.
And Doug, just from my end, the conversation and the debate about whether the game should go on, how much of a toss-up was it after that tragedy? There
was a lot of feeling about it. As you could expect, there were those who felt, no, it shouldn't continue. Remember, I was jogging with Eric Siegel, the author of Love Story, after he was an expert on the marathon. And the day after, and he didn't want the games, as I recall, he was very much against it. Personally, my opinion, and I did have this discussion with him at the time, I thought that the game should go on, because if they don't, then the terrorists win. Then they've done what they wanted to do, and that's the way I felt about it. There was a great discussion about it, but Avery Brundage, who was the president then, he had made the decision it would not. The games would continue. Jim we've talked so much about the Munich thing here, but Jim also had to host the service that was held the next day, and also the closing ceremony. We were talking about opening and closing ceremony had a different color to it because of the tragedy. There was a little different mood. We came home on the plane. By the way, the first time I ever went through airport security was leaving Munich.
Really?
Yeah, when I went there, I just got my bag, went to the airport, checked my bags, went to the gate, got on the plane, flew out, left, and our lives have never been the same.
Doug, I wanted to get back into the sports a little bit, just because we're running out of time. But
we can do next segment on the other sports.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
You don't think? If you could put a punctuation on the Munich Games, did they change the Olympics going forward forever?
The Olympics lost a certain halcyon quality to it, a certain purity. Ever since then, security has been such a much more. That first week that we talked about, that was so euphoric. We covered gymnastics, as I maybe mentioned. I mean, not only was the spirit there, but the Olympic Village, I didn't have to get much of a credential to go in and see somebody. No, I had my ABC credential, and you made an appointment, and you went to see whoever athlete you wanted to see. And the athletes themselves were interacting. That's what's supposed to be about, you know?
Stay with us, Doug. We're going to continue an extra segment on this, because there obviously is the depths of pain that came out of those games, but there have been so many uplifting moments, and he was eyewitness to history, from the "Can you believe in miracles" to so much more, and also social protest. We'll talk about that, and we'll also have time for a sad goodbye in the sports world as well. Stay with us, everybody. We'll continue after this.